Hey, what's going on, guys? Chris from Blu-ray Critic, doing a discussion video on the whole Fast and the Furious franchise collection. As you can see here, this was the first film, The Fast and the Furious, which was released in 2001. I remember seeing billboard ads all around, and I'm like, this looks like an interesting film. But then I remember seeing the cast. I'm like, okay, I'm not really familiar with some of these people, but I'm familiar with Michelle Rodriguez because she did that boxing movie. That was actually her first film, I believe. And Vin Diesel, because I remember seeing him in Saving Private Ryan, and then Paul Walker, but he wasn't famous at the time. He did a few co-starring films. I think he was in Pleasantville, and then he did a couple other comedy stuff, but he wasn't that big star in Hollywood yet. But I thought I'd give this film a chance, and then when I went to see it, I was totally blown away. I mean, everything I hadn't seen this type of film like in this style ever. I guess there was a couple of racing films. There was a film called The Fast and Furious. It was an original film, but it was nothing compared to this one. And I was just totally blown away. Everything about this film was just perfect. The even the acting was pretty decent enough for me to say, hey, this is a pretty good movie. But yeah, so this was the first film, as I mentioned, and comes in this really nice edition with the number one right there. A lot of people confuse this one with Fast and Furious, the fourth film in the franchise, because it was just a similar title name. But the director did a fantastic job, and the studio actually, this was actually shot in 1999, so it was 2 years before it was even released. So the studio gambled on this one, Universal Pictures, but they, I mean, they did an excellent job on that gamble because I mean, it bought, look at what it's done. It's a multi-billion dollar production thing. If you add up all the films, I mean, it's just amazing how much money this has made for the studio for a movie that was just this little known action film with cars. It's just amazing what it's turned out to be. But with the passing of Paul Walker, it's hard for me to enjoy these films because of him no longer being around. But I mean, you just gotta kind of do a tribute, I guess, every time you watch it. Just you know. So then we had the second film, which was released in 2003, and actually Vin Diesel was supposed to be in this film, but he was doing other films, and he wanted too much money to be in this one because he just felt like, he's a big Hollywood star. He's not going to do this unless they pay him like $20 million, and the studio refused, but they still went ahead with Paul Walker, and it's a good thing Paul Walker actually came back for this, because if he didn't, this probably wouldn't even be happening. I mean, I don't think they would have made this movie, and we wouldn't even have a franchise. But thankfully, Paul Walker showed up, and he delivered the goods. I mean, the performance is pretty good in this film, but I just don't care for the story. And the guy who played the villain, I don't know, I just don't like him for some reason. He was in that film Paparazzi a few years back, and I don't know, he's just not a great actor in my opinion. But overall, I mean, it was a great film for the introduction of Tyrese, as you can see here. And but yeah, it was nice cars. And actually, this Asian girl right here, she's a daughter of the owner of Benihana, that Asian restaurant. So that's pretty interesting. But it was nicely shot, though. It was filmed in Miami. But yeah, but then we didn't see the whole Fast and Furious franchise anymore for quite some time until 2006 with this one. And I was even surprised they went ahead with this one because, nobody was really famous in this one except that rapper guy. What's his name? Bow Wow. And Lucas Black. I really didn't know of him in any other films. I mean, he probably did small little co-starring things, but it was an interesting film. But I definitely missed Paul Walker in this one. And of course, if you haven't seen this film, or if you have seen this one, you already know who the cameo is at the end. But this film actually kind of introduced the whole franchise to what it is today, in a sense, because of the story kind of tying in. And considering now they currently put the seventh film on hold, but they're going to go ahead and continue filming that, and it's going to be released in 2015, April 10th, I believe. Vin Diesel announced that recently, so at least 2015 we'll get the seventh film rolling, and they are going to keep Paul Walker's scenes intact, so which is actually a pretty good idea, because it would have been horrible if they cut his scenes out and they replaced them, and it would have just been really bad. But anyhow, so this was the third film in the franchise. And then we finally had the return of Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, and Jordana Brewster in 2009 in Fast and Furious. And this is the second film that was directed by Justin Lin. Of course, he directed Tokyo Drift, and he's such a great director, man. He just really knows what he's doing. Just a great, solid director with those action sequences. It really blows your mind how, they're able to even achieve those scenes, going out there and filming that with the stunt crew and all that stuff. But just amazing stuff. And I actually enjoyed this film for what it was. And it was filmed in LA, so it was kind of cool to see and part of it was filmed like down in Mexico. But for what it was, especially when I first saw the trailer, I think it was around Super Bowl, and then they premiered the first few minutes online on YouTube, that whole tanker sequence in the opening intro. I'm like, man, this is going to be a great film. It just kind of gave you goosebumps, because it was just pretty cool to see the whole cast and crew back. So yeah, this was Fast and Furious. And then we had Fast 5, which introduced Dwayne Johnson's character Hobbs. And this was pretty good because it got the whole crew out in Brazil and Rio de Janeiro. And it was solid. It was just, the thing is with this film, it was more about action sequences rather than cars. Sure, they had a few car scenes and all that stuff, but you can tell that the studio wanted to go in a different direction. And Justin Lin was doing his thing, but at the same time kind of going on the path of what Universal Pictures wants. But it was pretty cool because you get, of course, Tyrese back in this one because he wasn't in Fast and Furious. And then you get Ludacris, a bunch of other actors, Jordana Brewster, of course. So this was pretty cool. And that train sequence at the beginning of the film is fantastic, nicely shot. Everything about this film is just top notch. So yeah, this was Fast 5, and forgot when this one was released. I think it was 2000. I think it was 2011. So finally, we had Fast and Furious 6, or Furious 6, because Justin Lin confirmed on his commentary on this Blu-ray disc that it was actually Furious 6, not Fast and Furious 6. But the studio wanted Fast and Furious 6 because I guess that's what people are familiar with. So anyhow, this was just a fantastic film. It kind of had that same vibe as Fast 5, but of course it took place in London, and then some of it was shot in Spain. But pretty good film, pretty solid film. Actually was really blown away, except for that airplane sequence. It just went on forever. It's like, how long is that damn runway? It's like, what, 50-mile runway or something? But other than that runway scene was nicely shot, though. Totally blown away with the action sequences in that scene. And actually it took 4 years. Justin Lin was mentioning that it took 4 years for that sequence to come together, that whole plane sequence. So it was pretty cool for the final result. But I don't know, it just dragged on a bit for me, but overall it was pretty good. And that tank sequence on the bridge on the freeway was fantastic as well. And of course, this was released on Blu-ray after Paul Walker's passing. So I suggest everybody do their part and pick this one up if they haven't done so yet. If you haven't, because some of the proceeds are going towards Paul Walker's charity foundation. And yeah, it's kind of a tribute. Just do yourself a favor and do that, at least for Paul's sake. So they actually released 2 versions of this, or several other versions, like 2 other versions. This is the Steelbook edition. They have an exclusive edition with the CD soundtrack as well from Best Buy, but this is just a regular edition. So definitely check it out to see what's inside. Actually, I got the movie in my player now, so you get your digital code as well. So definitely check out the franchise from the beginning if you haven't done so. And definitely pick up the Fast and Furious 6. And looking forward to Fast and Furious 7 when that's headed towards theaters. So anyhow, thanks for checking out my collection and discussion video on the whole Fast and Furious franchise. And much love and peace, and I'll see you guys soon in one of my next updates. Take care.